What's up, guys? Damer 1, 2, and 2, and it's top, I'm assuming it's Tuesday. And we are going to be continuing my top 10 cards in every main set of the game, and we are on to the next GX set, Elemental Energy. Yeah, I didn't even know this set existed. Although, one of the cards in it is pretty notable. So that was kind of a neat little like, oh, that's the set that came from. So that's kind of cool. But this is definitely a GX set, i.e. there's a couple good cards and the rest are bad, but at least the sets are small, so it's less to trudge through, I guess. It was actually kind of difficult getting 10 cards that weren't just all from the same deck on this list. So if you're wondering why some of the cards on this list are a little weird, it's because I wanted to make sure that like archetypes only get one slot, because otherwise that's kind of cheesy. So anyway, let's get started. Number 10. The Familiar Possessed Monsters. Oh yeah, they came out in this set, so that's cool. They're not very good, I understand that. But they do have some interesting things going for them. I picked the, should be over here, Fire one. Mostly because, I don't know, I like the artwork, I guess. And it was always the one that everyone was talking about specifically. Although I don't really think it much matters which one I would have picked. But basically, they all do the same thing. You send one monster from the field that's the Charmer version of this card. In this instance, it's Hinata the Fire Charmer. And one monster of that attribute, in this case, that's a Fire monster, that you control to the graveyard to summon this thing from your hand or deck. And it does piercing damage. Now, that's not really super great. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool they do piercing. And in 1850, as spellcasters, they are somehow strangely searchable by Fairy Tale Luna. Take that information how you will. But the fact that they can summon from the deck, even despite the fact they are a neg 1 play to make, is at least kind of interesting. Having a inherent summoning condition from inherent summoning condition from the deck that's cool. And they did get some later support with that Familiar Possessed Unpossessed? Is that the name of the trap card? So clearly Konami is at least aware the deck exists, and then I think we just got a Link monster, just announced. So okay, they're aware the deck exists. We might get some interesting support down the line, so I figured at least give them a mention here because, you know, they're kind of cool. BES Tetran. Yeah, the big core deck just got support. It got Boss Rush in this set, and it got this guy. I think it might have had another monster, I don't remember. But the candidate I'm sticking on the list to represent the BES deck is Tetran, because I think, honestly, he's probably one of the better ones, simply because he's a giant breaker, the magical warrior. When this thing is normal summon, you put 3 counters on it. It can't be destroyed by battle. When it attacks during the damage calc, you take one of those little counters off of it. And then, when it doesn't have any counters on it, it kills itself by its own effect. Once per turn, you can remove one of those counters to destroy a spell or trap on the field. Like I said, it's Breaker the Magical Warrior, like almost literally. A level 6 wind machine with 2300 defense means it's kind of got a big booty at 1800 attack. It's not the most strongest thing in the field, but again, it's kind of a toolboxy card, so that's kind of neat, I guess. Typing's all right. I think their field spell was okay. I told you, we're kind of scraping for these top couple, so the card's all right. Oh boy, here we go. This is what we needed, more ABC stuff. VW Tiger Catapult. Tiger Catapult is a contact fusion, just like in all the other ABC monsters, so that's really, really cool. I mean, is it okay to call the old ones ABCs? Is that anachronistic? Probably anachronistic. The Letter Machine Union guys. Basically, you make them out of V and W, contact fusion. You can discard a card, target a monster in the field, and change its battle position. 2000 attack, that's not the greatest thing in the world. However, back in the day, this kind of toolboxy effect is all right. It's a contact fusion, so you're not going completely out of your way to make the damn thing. It's a lot like modern Yu-Gi-Oh, where you just need 2 monsters on board in order to make it. So it's a little ahead of its time, at least in that respect. And it only needs 2 monsters, unlike Dragon Catapult Cannon, or whatever the hell the other one in this set is, which is like 5 monsters. It's an absurd amount of monsters you need to make the damn thing, and all it does is banish a card. So, of the 2 letter monsters, this one's the more easy to make, and I figured its effect might not be as good, but it's at least a viable summon like for a 2K beater. So I'm gonna sound like I don't know what I'm talking about with this whole list because I'm really stretching on a lot of these. Elemental Hero Wild Edge. Yeah, you know, Wildheart, he's in this set. He's unaffected by traps, which is really cool. You know, he's got some relevancy there, but he's also got a fusion version of himself, in which he's one of the materials of, and the fusion's okay. You make it with Wildheart and Blade Edge. You must be fusion summoned, can't be fusion in other ways, and this thing can attack all your opponent's monsters once per battle phase. Yeah, so if you manage to summon this thing, you can clear a board. Obviously, it's OG Elemental Hero Fusion, so it's not like the most viable deck in the world, but it's also not even one of the more generic fusions. He requires 2 specific heroes, which is, again, kind of lame. But the fact that he can attack every monster your opponent controls is pretty good. He's got, what, 2600 attack? 2600 attack. He's big enough to get over most things. He can clear a board. The only problem with him I can see is if your opponent has enough monsters on the field to make him advantageous to make, I'd be highly suspect that you can even make a fusion play, because that means your opponent's got like 3 or 4 monsters on board, and you're gonna be fusion summoning? How do you have the resources for that? What's the game state here? But it's okay. You know what? If you can get a fusion summon off, you can probably cheese yourself out of a jam. He's all right. Cyberblader. This is like the same card in respect that you play it at the same exact ridiculous hypothetical situation where you can make a fusion summon despite the fact you are at a severe disadvantage, which I don't know how that works, because fusion summoning, especially old school fusion summoning, is such a waste of resources that if you are in a losing position, you must be just holding your cards. But I digress. What does she do? She's a level 7 Earth Warrior, so, you know, that's cool. A fusion summon can only be conducted with its materials, so you can't cheese it out with Metamorphosis, which is really lame, because I think Metamorphosis was still legal at this point, because this is just after GOAT format, so I think Metamorphosis was still at 1 at this time. So, can't use that. You gotta make her for reals. With Atoli Cyber, I think I'm saying that right, and Blade Skater. Its material doesn't matter. They're like, one's a vanilla, the other one's got a cheesy effect. But anyway, what does she do? Well, your opponent controls only 1 monster. This card cannot be destroyed by battle. At 2100 attack, that's kind of nice because she's not the biggest world beater in the world, but okay. The fact that depending on how many monsters your opponent controls changes her effect is kind of neat. So what's the next one? 2. If your opponent only has 2 monsters on the field, double this thing's current attack. So she goes up to 42, which is that's pretty good. You can do some damage. While your opponent only controls 3 monsters, negate the effect of your opponent's spell, traps, and monsters. What? She's an omni-negate. If your opponent has 3 monsters on board, she negates literally everything they can do. That's crazy. If this thing's in Duel Links, you can only have 3 monsters. Like, hey, that's broke. Except for the fact that its fusion material is like hard to get at or whatever. I don't know, I just think that's neat. And in a situation where you're playing into a larger board, she can hit the field with an Omni Negate. That's pretty awesome. Obviously, you're running into the problem where your opponent has to have a very specific board in order for her to function, which is never good Yu-Gi-Oh! Also, the more advantage you get back, the weaker she gets. So that's a weird dynamic. It does punish your opponent for making comeback plays, so that's interesting if she stays on board. And from the wording of the card, I'm unsure if these stack. I don't think they do. If they did, it would be better. I'm not gonna look it up. Tell me in the comments. I don't think it stacks. But overall, she's kind of cool. Thought her mechanic is neat. Give her a shout out. Do you believe in Oja magic? In a stupid deck. Yeah, it's Oja magic. If this card is sent from your hand or field to the graveyard, add 1 Ojama green, Ojama yellow, and Ojama black from your deck to your hand. So this card's really weird. It's a spell card that you can't just simply activate, I'm pretty sure, given the fact that it doesn't actually do anything until it's sent to the grave. Does that mean you can't just play it? I think you can't just play it. Which means you either have to discard it or destroy it somehow. It's an if, so it doesn't miss timing. That's cool. Man, all these cards are worded so weird. But yeah, all you Ojama players, you can fill me in the comments below whether or not you can just slap this thing down. I went into recording this video without even checking because I honestly didn't think of this until like the camera was pointed at me. I don't think you can just activate this thing. I think you actually have to like get it in the graveyard by other means because it doesn't actually have an effect. Like, you can't just say, like, activate this card for 1,000 life points, send it to the graveyard, then it resolves and gets another. No, I think you can't just play it. So that's kind of annoying. However, it's like a +2, So that's like really good. Sure, you get like vanillas with it, but it's still a +2. And I'm pretty sure your Barako Jamas, they like want all of them. Like they want just as much advantage as they can get, because that's kind of what they do. They get a ton of advantage and they like poop a bunch out on the board. They kind of clog up your opponent's zones. They clog up yours. You make that big dumb fusion, flip its attack and defense and punch. Then you hit it with an Oja Muscle or whatever it is, which also is in this set. I vaguely know how the deck works. And with the new Chaz cards, you can kind of shove it into ABCs and make a really weird link spam deck, because for some reason he plays the letter unions and these and Armed Dragon. What is his deck anyway? Like what is that? Like there's no way that works. You need to make up a card like those new ones just to have that even function. But yeah, Oja Magic, man. That gets you all the Oja Vantage. Number 4 is Rapidfire Magician. This is actually an okay card. We're finally to a card that I've heard of before and can actually talk about with some semblance of assurity. Assuredness? I am unsure whether or not that was a word. It was a long day at work today, guys. A level 4 Dark Spellcaster. Ooh, dat typing dough. With 1600 attack, so he's not a pushover. Burn your opponent for 400 damage every time you play a spell card. It's normal spells. Okay, that's kind of lame. However, this thing just seems FTKE to me. Like, I don't know if off the top of my head if there actually is one, but if you told me there was, wouldn't be surprised. You just can loop spell cards, keep burning your opponent. There's tons of draw cards and crap in this game that would just keep burning your opponent. You could recycle them. I bet you can do something stupid with Primal Seed. You could kill somebody with, you know what? Whether or not that is an accepted one that people know about, there you go. You can kill your opponent with Primal Seed. I did it. I came up with one on the spot. Primal Seed's a normal spell, right? I'm exhausted. But yeah, this thing is, you know, just a cheesy burn card. I can see it totally being loopy. It's not once per turn. But if a card can win a duel, it needs to be considered good, even if it's degenerate and silly. So there you go. Rapidfire Magician. Keep looping them Primal Seeds. Alright, we're in the top 3. These are actually cards I can actually talk about and not sound like I'm drunk or stupid, because I'm actually neither. Well, sometimes I feel like that second one might be up for debate. Nonfusion Area! It's a continuous trap card that says neither player can fusion summon. That's it. Man, if you're playing against Invoked and you flip this thing, they're gonna be so salty. They probably can out it, but they're gonna be annoyed. It's gonna bug them. This is one of those cards where it's not always great, but if there's a fusion deck running around the format, it's never going to be a bad side option against that deck, unless that deck has a lot of inherent spot removal in its main deck monsters, in which case this isn't super useful. However, if, you know, even if something like True Dracos can sometimes lose to Mask of Restrict, even though they can technically out it by various means, then sure. Sometimes your opponent flips a Floodgate, you just can't get rid of it. And if you're playing a fusion deck, this would be one of them. Not really sure else what to say, other than it's a cheesy Floodgate. Super skillful Yu-Gi-Oh! You know, there's a couple decks in this game that I just can't stand. And one of them is Dark Worlds. These jerks won't leave your hand alone. You can discard your own hand, all I care. I don't care. If you want to discard your own crap, send it to the graveyard, draw new cards, fine. It's annoying to watch you play Solitaire, but leave my hand alone. And you know what Dark Worlds don't do? They don't leave your hand alone. No, they play stupid crap like Drag Down to the Grave, where they make you lose a really good card, and then they only have one card left in hand. It's the one Dark World monster they want. They're like, oh, you gotta discard it. Which one are you gonna pick? And you're like, ah, ass. And now that the dangers are out, they actually have a reason to come out of hiding and play their dumb deck again. However, Salty Dave aside, I could never take away from them the fact that that deck, albeit annoyingly, does certainly function very well. And it's very resilient. Greffa just keeps coming back from the grave, and this thing, Brow, just keeps getting the advantage. It's actually really good. Like, I'm not gonna say the deck is bad because I dislike it. I dislike it for personal reasons. It's a good deck. It's a great deck, actually. And the Dangers gave it a huge power boost. They just gave it more beaters to play. And you know what? The Dangers have, they're cool. They get a pass. They're cool. I like how they function. But yeah, I'm not gonna stand up here and complain about Dark Worlds for 20 minutes, even though I could. But most certainly, I will never take away from them that Brow is a really solid card. What does he do? If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you draw a card. If it was sent there by an opponent's card effect, draw another card. I want to make sure it wasn't a search. I feel like I should know how this dumb deck works. So if your opponent hits you with that single copy of card destruction they got in their deck, think they're being cheeky, ruining your opening hand, they're about to have a bad day. Yeah, honestly, I'm pretty sure none of us should be maining card destruction, because if you use that against a Dark World Danger deck, you should just scoop. You really should scoop. You did half their work for him. He's level 3 Dark Fiend, great typing, and he just helps the deck garner advantage. All the other Dark Worlds in the set are kind of lackluster. He's arguably the best one, and he actually still sees play, so there you go. Also, if I need to say something positive about Dark Worlds to get all their fanboys off my back in the comment section, I will concede one thing. I will concede it. Dark Worlds are great for teaching scrubs how to read a card. What do you mean I can't discard it for cost to get an effect? No, this doesn't work with Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. Do you know why? No, because I'm a scrub and I'm dumb. Because it says discarded by a card effect. The cost of a card is not an effect. It's what you do to get an effect. So that alone there makes them excellent teaching tools for people who are trying to learn how to basically play the game. Because this teaches you to read your damn cards. Because honestly, Yu-Gi-Oh's not that hard. Just do what the card says and don't interpret it, and don't let the cogs turn too much. Just do exactly what the card says, and most of the time you're actually fine. I think that's what people tend to forget. Is an effect a cost? No. There you go. Mystery solved. It's good job, Dark Worlds, for teaching people how to play the game. Now, I really don't have any honorable mentions this time around because, it was hard getting, 10 cards on the list. If I had to pick something, I don't know, maybe Wildheart himself, because I kind of mentioned him at the start when I did Wild Edge, so he's kind of already on the list as an honorable mention, but sure, why not? Wildheart, because he's immune to traps. It's alright. This is weird to put him on here because heroes already got their spot. Anyway. However, there is most certainly a dishonorable mention. Oh boy, is there a dishonorable mention. And it's this hot dumpster fire of a card. Infernal Incinerator. What a dumb name. This level 6 Fire Fiend with 2800 attack has the following ridiculously stupid effect. This card can only be normal summoned or set by discarding every card in your hand and tributing one card on the field with 2000 attack power or more. Yup, you can't just sack a monster for this like any other tribute summon. If you really, for some reason, want to tribute summon this awful card, you also need to dump your whole hand to do it. Now, before you guys go down in the comments below and say, Dave is stupid, he said tribute a card with 2000 attack. You can't have a spell. How much attack does Regeki have, Dave? No, read the card. It says that. One card with 2000 attack. So somehow, if you have a spell card with attack power, you can tribute that. That's the trade-off for the ridiculous dump your hand. You can sack weird cards that act like monsters. But if it's acting like a monster, it would be tribute material anyway, and you wouldn't have to dump your hand. Now, you might say, well, maybe, Dave, it's just a terrible typo on the card. Like, oh, it was supposed to say monster. No, it's not. Do you know why? Fun fact, it's been eroded 2 times. The second time, they changed it to one monster with 2000 attack power. But then, they eroded it back to card. So it's like, it was always intended from the Japanese or something that, oh no, it's actually intended to say card for whatever reason. I have no idea why. Why that is so important that you contribute a card with attack power. No idea. But anyways, What do you get for it? Oh boy, are you kitties ready for this one? It gains 200 attack for every monster your opponent controls. What? Who cares? Who the freak cares? It loses a 500 attack power for every monster you control. So it's not just like it gets huge if your opponent's got a big board. I would rather play Wild Edge or that Blader card into a big board if I'm only using cards in this set. But nah, I can lose all the cards in my hand and a guy on my board to have this thing gain like 600 attack. Who made this? This card is so bad. Everyone loves to crap on Pot of Generosity for being one of the worst cards. And I'd never even heard of this card before, and this thing is legendarily bad. Like, Larva Moth, I'm sorry, buddy. You get a lot of crap, but like, this thing's worse. This thing's worse. But anyway. Are you guys ready for the only actually good card in the set? Number 1. It's also banned, so it was number 1 regardless. Pot of Avarice. Yeah, I came out in this. Isn't that weird? Target 5 monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them into your deck, draw 2. Yeah, this card's really good. It's a +1. That's it. Whoop-dee freaking do. Sure, you lose a little virtual advantage in your graveyard setup, but virtual advantage isn't real advantage. It's just a buzz term for like decks that can play with their grave or banish pile. But it doesn't actually mean any card advantage you actually have. It only ever applies like when you have a Mally in grave or something. Like, okay, you don't have the +1 right now, but you have the potential for one later because you have an effect ready. So that's kind of like having a card. It's not though, you don't have a card yet, but it's kind of like having a card. And this guy makes you lose a little bit of that, but it does give you a hard +1. That's really cool. And for decks that are like, don't care about their graveyard, that's really powerful. And back in slow Yu-Gi-Oh! When this thing just came out, you know, half those guys are probably stuck in there anyways. This is a great way, like a mid-game to late-game play, just get your hand really refreshed. Also, you know, nowadays, I don't know, like, is this too slow? Is this too slow? Like, it's sure it's a spell, so you can just play it on turn 1, but like, how are you gonna have 5 guys in your grave on turn 1? Like, what deck are you playing? Like, maybe if it was like a Link deck, like a Wombo Combo Goki, they might have 5 guys in grave, but I tend to banish a lot of them with the sword. I don't know. It might be too slow. This might be able to come back to 1. I'm unsure. I'd like to see it in a format, see what it does. It's an unsearchable Saki one-off. I don't know. I think it might be okay. Comments down below. Do you think we can have this card back? I'm unsure. I'm on the fence. But anyway, guys, that was Elemental Energy. What a obscure early to mid GX set that I had no idea existed. There you go. But anyway, guys, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Remember, if you don't troll the meta, who will? I will see you guys for, oh boy, I have no idea what the next set is. What's up, douchebags? By the power of the seal of all my cowgirls, I command you to subscribe to the channel. Grab your deck and be sure to click one of these other videos by David AK1212. It's the best damn channel on the internet. Yeah, man. Yeah.